Let's dig a little deeper with our senior political editor, Steve Chaggaris in Washington. Steve, good to see you. So Hillary Clinton is still facing questions about whether donors to the Clinton Foundation got special treatment while she was Secretary of State. As more information comes to light, is this going to continue to dog her?
Absolutely. I think that they wanted to put this email scandal, these questions about the Clinton Foundation, they wanted to put this behind them months ago. That's not the case. There's still a trickle of these emails still coming out that are showing all sorts of questions about her connection to the foundation while she was Secretary of State. And there'll be more emails coming out. We know that Judicial Watch, which is a group that's been asking for emails, is holding on to them and trickling them out. We know that the State Department has received emails from the FBI that she had deleted from her personal server, and the State Department still has to release those emails. So this story is not going away. And unfortunately for her, it leaves her in a vulnerable position with Trump. She should be, right now, given all of Trump's problems with his campaign, I think a lot of folks feel that she should be putting this race away now. Instead, her questions about all this stuff are contributing to her low numbers in terms of favorability, in terms of whether people think she's honest and trustworthy. And as long as this continues, that part of the polling will at least be competitive with Trump.
Steve, if it were any other candidate other than Donald Trump, would this be cut and dry that Hillary Clinton would not be doing even as well as she is doing in some states? I mean, is it just because you have two flawed candidates that no one seems to be able to rise above the water here?
Let's just say there are plenty of people inside the Beltway, especially those who don't like Donald Trump, that feel if there was a different nominee of the Republican Party, they would be in a much more competitive position, mainly because of these problems she has. Fortunately for her, yes, we're talking about these problems of hers, but there are also other distractions that Donald Trump is creating for himself, and so it's not just focused on her problems. There are a lot of other problems to talk about with the other candidate.
Yeah, speaking of distractions that Donald Trump is creating, now there are a lot of members of the RNC that are calling for, well, a lot of Republicans rather, that are calling for the RNC to cut off his campaign funding. Donald Trump has already responded. He said, look, if you don't want to support me, how about I don't raise any money for you? Okay, the money aside, this is not a good look for the party. How damaging is this?
Well, in the short term, probably not very damaging. If you actually look at the list of people who signed that letter that's going to be sent to the RNC, there are not a lot of influential Republicans on that list. There are a lot of people who've worked in campaigns and on Capitol Hill before, a long time ago. There are a few former congressmen who have already been out there dumping on Trump. But I do think, there's a couple of things to look at here. First of all, what's the reality of the RNC just pulling funding from Trump and directing it toward down ballot candidates? We saw this a bit 20 years ago when Bob Dole was losing pretty badly to Bill Clinton. And it was clear that he was not going to win that election. And so late in the campaign, in about October, you started hearing Republicans saying publicly, look, let's start focusing on our Senate races, our House races, get those folks elected because we need to have a check to Bill Clinton's presidency. Whether that will happen this year or not, it's not going to happen in August. Whether it will happen in October remains to be seen. I think the difference this year is, and this is where Trump is right on the money, the RNC and Trump are tied much more closely in terms of fundraising than they have been in the past, mainly because they've set up these joint victory committees where Trump is going and raising money not just for his own campaign, but for the RNC, for the RNC's committees, and for state party committees. And so he's an influential part of the fundraising on this, and I think the RNC has a lot of questions to answer before they can just start pulling money from Trump.
All right, this one is a head scratcher. So Trump posted on Twitter today that he was being sarcastic when he called President Obama and Hillary Clinton the founders of ISIS. Now, of course, this is after he doubled down several times yesterday. So, Steve, help me understand what's going on here.
This is my take on it. I honestly think we have seen this guy since he jumped in the campaign, June of 2015, branding his opponents. He brands them, whether it's Lying Ted or Crooked Hillary or Little Marco or Goofy Elizabeth Warren. That's what he does. He wants people to think a specific thing about each of his opponents. And in this case, he's tied it to policy. He's tied it to national security and terrorism, and is trying to suggest that Obama and Hillary Clinton are responsible for the rise of ISIS. However, saying it that way is not as exciting, or in terms of branding, not as catchy as saying they're the founders of ISIS. So this is classic Donald Trump branding his opponents. Now, we're taking it because I think we're tying it to the policy and trying to fact check it, and obviously it's not true, but that doesn't stop him from doing what he does, which is really trying to create a brand about his opponents, a negative brand that is going to stick. Now, the question is, will it stick or not? We'll see how polling looks over the next few weeks.
Yeah, another question bubbling up is about his tax returns. Hillary Clinton said that she's going to release her tax returns as early as today, possibly. So the pressure's got to be on Trump to release his, no?
I'm not sure he cares what Hillary Clinton's going to do on this, but, you know, ultimately this goes back to the honesty and trustworthy question that we had with Hillary Clinton. And voters, I think, want to see their candidates be transparent. The fact that he has not put out his tax returns and has been blaming an audit for the reason why he hasn't done so, I think raises a lot of questions among not only us in the media, but among voters. I mean, you're seeing it in polling. Voters want to know what is going on. What is he hiding something? Why doesn't he want to share this information that others are doing? And so what Hillary Clinton is doing basically is trying to make the case to voters, hey, look, you know what? I've got my tax returns out there. We're going to put Tim Kaine's tax returns out there for years and years, so you can check our stuff out. Why isn't Donald Trump doing this? Hoping to raise the question again with voters about transparency in Donald Trump.
All right, Steve Chaggaris, thank you.
Thanks.